Alright guys, we're back with another video, Jolly Bait Company. We're gonna do a video that's been requested for a while now. Did one of these a really long time ago when I just started doing this, and I've learned a lot since then, and there's a lot of people that are getting into this themselves, and these videos kind of, I guess, help you guys a lot is what the comments and stuff have said. But I got a lot of different equipment that I'm going to show you guys today, stuff that I wish that I knew whenever I first started doing this, which would have saved money at the time and a lot of time and effort of learning how to do it. And maybe I can save you guys some trial and error yourselves that I went through whenever I first started. Whether you're somebody that's wanting to start their own company like I have here, or you're somebody that's just want to do it for fun, make their own baits and catch fish with the stuff that they made, hopefully this video will help you guys. I would definitely say it's been really fun doing this myself and growing this company online and meeting a lot of people that like fishing and talking about it. And I've sent my baits to every state in America except like Alaska, and I don't even think they have bass there. So it's been really fun. And if any of you today are just fishermen that are interested in this kind of stuff, just definitely check out jollybaitcompany.com. You can try some of our lures out and kind of see that they're how they're made and stuff. We're not going to show you guys any of the actual bait making today. There's a lot of different videos in the past and in the future that we're going to have making colors step by step that you can go check out. Today we're going to just show you guys the materials and all the stuff that I use to do it and where I got it from. First thing we got, and probably the most important thing in bait making, is obviously the plastic, and this is called Plastisol, and it's comes in liquid form. Obviously, we got a 5-gallon bucket right here. I think the best brand that I've ever used, and I've used about 2 or 3 different brands, so I've not used like all that there is. There's obviously a lot more. And there's even some people, the smaller companies, that make it. When it comes to Plastisol, there is different like types of it. If you want to use some Plastisol that will make your bait more tough or make it less tough and more like action to it, then there's different types. And if you're going to use dead-on plastics like I do, which I will drop a link down below to go to them, there's different types, and the one that I like to use the most is probably the swim bait jerkbait blend, which is kind of the medium. I think their worm blend is more of the fragile type of plastic and it'll break easier, but it obviously has really good action in it. You also can get a floating Plastisol, which will make your plastic float. Now the price when it comes to Plastisol, I'm not really sure what other companies run, but for dead-on plastics you're going to run about 150 bucks, including shipping, for a 5-gallon bucket, which is pretty good. Another important thing to know about Plastisol is I've got this old 1-gallon thing of it that I've got here from Soft Bait Do It Essentials. And after it sits for a while, it separates. So you have to, that's why you have to really mix your plastic good whenever you're making baits. That's something I have not brought up yet, but you really need to mix up your Plastisol before you start, probably a good 5 minutes, because if you don't, then it's going to be a sticky mess, and you just don't want to have to deal with that and ruin your Plastisol and waste a lot of money. All right, next thing you're definitely going to need is a microwave. This is kind of a really big one. It was actually just one that was my grandparents' basement that I'm used. And but you really could use any size microwave, but you're not going to want to use it for food after you've probably used it for plastic a lot. Now, when it comes to heating up the plastic in your microwave, you're going to want to have some of these Pyrex glass cups, and I think these measuring cups are the best thing you can use, because you can do a certain amount of plastic every single time and kind of get used to putting a certain amount of time on your microwave, so it'll heat up about the same every single time. Now, depending on the watts of your microwave, and I'm not even really sure what mine is, for about a cup of plastic like this right here, I usually, whenever it's completely full of Plastisol, I usually do it for maybe 3 minutes and then kind of see what it looks like, mix it up midway through, and then put it back in and do a little bit more. For 2 cups, I'll do maybe 5 minutes and then check and see what it looks like, do it some more. You just don't want to heat your plastic up too much and burn it. Another really nice thing you can use to heat up your plastic is these Presto pots, and there we see the temperature now. You can put it on about 400. And if you're on 400, it could burn it a little bit, so I usually keep it around 350, somewhere in there. But these are really good if you're wanting to do a lot of plastic at a time. And that also brings me to my ventilation system. Goes outside because we're in a basement, and you can see I turn it on, it'll suck the air out from the fumes that are going up. And that's kind of another really important thing you want to do whenever you're making baits, because the fumes for the Plastisol is really not good for you. And it's really best if you do this in kind of where there's an area of a door that you can open up, or a window that you can open up and let the air flow. Have a fan going if possible. I do that sometimes. I'll have the fan going out the basement door. But hopefully eventually I'm wanting to do this in kind of a garage so where I can open up the garage door so none of those fumes will be going up in my lungs or anything like that, because they're really not good for you at all. Next one we're going to talk about is Colorant and Flake. And the only company that I ever use for this, and I feel like you guys, this would be the only company you use. They're not crazy expensive. I don't really even haven't even used another company, so I guess I don't have a whole lot of credibility on that. But LureWorks has been great. They have so many different options of colors and flake, and I've not had any problems with the flake or colorant doing anything wrong. So I'll drop that in the comments as well, so you can definitely click that link and check out LureWorks. I think that's the best place to get that stuff. Now, a few smaller things that aren't really important, but they're really convenient to have whenever you're making baits, is these little cup measuring things. I use that for flake, and that really helps. And you could use that for colorant, but I usually just do it by drop. I usually do about 40 drops per cup based on whatever color I'm doing. Another thing would be some mixing tools, and I've got these just plastic knives from, metal knives from just Walmart, real cheap. And then also, you're going to want to get some clamps. These aren't very expensive. You can get them at Harbor Freight, Lowe's, wherever you're at. These right here are the best ones that I use, because I like these that screw on because they go tighter and they're easier to do over time than like the trigger clamps. Those aren't as good. They don't do it as tight. But there also is some bigger companies, and I've even seen them for sale on Facebook, some air vices, which make it a lot easier to clamp your stuff down. All you got to do is click a button. But next thing we're going to do is show you guys the injectors. And first up, we got this dual injector, and this is the Do It one. It's a real cheap one. I don't do this a whole lot. I want to do this more whenever I get a shooting star machine, which is a completely other level of bait making. But for a dual injector, you got to have this blending block as well, and I'll show you guys the inside of it. And that's where the two colors meet together and go in the injector, go into the mold at the same time. I've also got this single injector from Do It, and it was the first one I got, and I will probably not really suggest to get one like this. It's not even really worth it. I don't really remember how much it was, but the worst thing about it is it's not got a lock on the end, so it's easy to spill plastic out at the end of putting it in the mold, and it only fills up about one mold at a time. Another one that I got, this is the second one I got, and this is probably my second favorite, and I think this one is from Bass Tackle. You guys can check that out. I'll drop Bass Tackle in the comments as well, because that's one of the mold places we're going to talk about. This one I think was a 6-ounce injector, and the thing I do not like about this one is it's a bulkier one, so the plastic, I just feel like it stays hotter longer and it takes longer to cool down. But this was definitely a really good injector I used for a really long time, and it fills up 3 or 4 molds at a time, so it was definitely worth it. And then next we got this one. I do not even think the company that made this one is still going. They're a really small company I seen on Facebook one day, and it was kind of a decent deal maybe on a holiday, and I just decided to get this. This is like a 12-ounce or 10-ounce injector. I'm not even completely sure. But the thing I like about this one is it's really smooth. It fills up the molds like I need them to. It's got a lock on it, and the big one has a lock on it too. But it's a thinner profile, and so I feel like it cools down a little bit quicker. The only bad thing is it hits a ceiling whenever I go to do this, but I mean, that's because I have a low ceiling in here anyway. But this was definitely probably my favorite one. I don't really have a link to it, but if you could find something like this, that would be my suggestion to go after. Another couple small things before we get to the molds. You're definitely going to have some gloves. You can get them somewhere real cheap, some good leather gloves that are really maneuverable, where you can get around and do stuff and work with them on. You'll definitely know if you get plastic on you. You don't want to do that. I've not actually burnt myself real bad yet, so I'm not planning on doing that. I'm going to keep my gloves on most of the time when I'm doing this. Another thing is you're going to want to have is worm oil. Whenever you're finished making your baits and they've been sitting out for a few days and they've cured and hardened up a little bit, you're going to want to bag them, and you got to have worm oil in the bag with them, because if you don't, they're going to deform, change shape. I think one of the biggest problems with mine is like the curly tail worm or the grubs, the tail. If you don't have worm oil on them, it could deform it a little bit and not have as good of an action. So that's definitely something you're going to want to have. And also, you don't have to have this, but it's something really good if you're selling them, to be able to say that there's some scent in them. And I've got some crawfish formula here, and I use that on just about everything. I've got some garlic formula as well that I'll spray into the worms and the grub worms. And the worm oil you can get from LureWorks. I usually put it in this bottle like this Blackstone bottle that I bought, and it's really easy to pour into the bags. The scent you can get from Amazon or something, just look it up on Amazon, you should be able to find it. Next up, we're going to talk about is the bags, and this is one of the biggest things that people ask me about. Where do you get your bags? I started out with these right here, and these came from this small factory where I'm at locally. And if you're wanting to start out, this is probably a better thing to do. You can probably find them online. Just get some thicker Ziploc bags. This isn't just a regular one. You do not want some regular Ziploc bags that will just easily rip or not hold your baits real well. You want to get something like this that'll hold your stuff and hold the scent in as well. When it comes to these bags, these are probably the most important thing that I've gotten. I feel like it just brings out your bait, especially if you're going to get in stores. If you're going to get something like this, you really need to be more serious about it, because you're going to have to come up with a design, and you're going to have to buy them in a really big bulk amount. There's not an exact place that I can tell you guys to go to get these. I was messaged, I'm in a Facebook group for bait makers, and I was actually just messaged by a woman from China that they make bags, and you have to order like 10,000 minimum. But I would suggest to just look around online. There's a lot of places to do it. You're just going to have to buy them in bulk if you're serious about it and you want to get bags like this. And I mean, this is one of my favorite things I've got, because it just makes you look a lot more professional, and I just really like the design that I made myself, and it's pretty cool to have that. Another thing you're going to want is a place to hang your baits. Depending on how much you make at a time, you're going to want to have more room. If you're just doing this on a smaller scale, you might not need as much room. But if you're going to have a company, you're definitely going to want to have a lot of room to hang up baits. Also, you're going to have somewhere to hang them up to cure. I usually let them hang for at least 2 to 3 days, a lot of the time longer, and then I'll get them bagged up. A lot of people do it different on how long they let their baits sit after you pull them out of the mold. I usually at least set them out 2 to 3 days, but a lot of the times they'll sit there for a week or two before I get to them. From my experience, if you let them sit out 2 or 3 days, they're not going to get a whole lot harder, or they're not going to mess up just hanging there for a really long time. So at least just wait 2 or 3 days and you should be good. All right, last up, we're going to show you guys the molds. Molds are going to be the most expensive thing you buy. They're going to be what you put the most money into, but it's a one-time fee. You have to realize that whenever you're doing it. After you buy them, they're yours, and you don't have to keep on spending money on it like you do Plastisol or Flake or Colorant. I would say whenever I first started out with the cheaper stuff, and it really helped out because I learned more with it and not having to spend a whole lot of money at first. What I started out with was the Do It molds, and a lot of you guys have probably seen these if you have looked it up online. These are the cheapest ones you can get. I think they were about $40 when I first started. I'm not sure what they are now. But here's one that I still have, and it's my old frog that I used to make, and it's a 2-cavity. And what I used to do was I had 3 of these, and I would sell them in a 6-pack. But if you're just starting out, I would suggest to start out with the Do It molds. See if you like it, try it a few times, get some baits made, and go fishing with them, and see if you really want to get serious about it. The next company I want to talk about is probably one of the most popular companies, I would say, when it comes to bait making, and that's Angling AI. I've got this action worm that came from there, and this is a 10-cavity. I will say about Angling AI, I've not really had any problems with their molds at all. They're really nice molds. There's a 7-inch worm. The 7-inch worm messes up on me sometimes, but other than that, Angling AI, I mean, no matter what my temperature is on my plastic, it's not really messed up that much, and I'd say they're a really good company that if you're wanting to get into it, check them out. Next up, I would say my favorite mold brand is probably Bass Tackle. I've got 3 molds from there. The Helgermite, the grub worm right there, 6-cavity, I've got 2 of those, so I'll make 12 at a time. And also, I think my Ned rig came from there too. I think I got this one on Marketplace, but it is a Bass Tackle mold, 10-cavity. I don't really have any problems with those molds at all. Shooting them, they shoot great just about every time, and I really like those, so I would suggest that company as well. And then last up, the really big company that's really popular, and it's called FatGuysFishing.com. I got my crappie mold from there. That's probably my favorite mold is that one. It doesn't have any problems, and it's got a lot of cavities, so I can make a lot at a time, which is really important whenever you got a company. You save time making them, so I can make 2 packs at a time. I'm definitely going to be getting more molds from there eventually. I do say that, but I do hope to one day get all my molds to be custom made molds, and that brings me to show you guys my crawl mold. And we got 2 of these, and I make these 3 packs at a time because I've got 2 molds. And I designed this crawl myself. It's probably why it's my favorite. It's got my company letters in the claw, if I can show you guys. But that's when you really get serious about this. But this mold does 12 cavities at a time per mold, and I have 2 of them, so I can make 3 packs at a time because I do 8 per pack of crawls. And this is definitely my favorite one. If you get serious about it, this is going to run you a lot more expensive. This was probably about $600, $700. Like, they're really expensive, especially the first one. I think the first one when it was designed, it was $600, and then the next one was like $400. But still, these are when you're going to get really serious about it. And then last mold I'll show you guys, this is from a small company. Again, I don't even know if they still are making molds. They might not even make this certain mold anymore, which wouldn't be good if I wanted to buy another one. But this is a 14 cavity stickworm mold, 5 1/4 inch length, and I don't really have a whole lot of problems with it. It's just stickworms take up a lot of plastic, so when I'm filling this one up, I know I can't really fill up multiple molds at a time because I know it's going to take up a lot of plastic. When it comes to the molds though, I told you the price for the do-it molds is around $40. The custom molds are going to be $500, $600. When it comes to Fat Guys Fishing, Angling AI, and Bass Tackle, the 3 big companies you should check out if you're wanting to buy molds. I would say most of them run from about $100 to $300, depending on what kind of bait you get and how many cavities. But that's going to be everything for today, guys. That's just about every equipment that I have, all the things that I need to make baits and I use for my company. I kind of use this channel to show you guys how to make baits because that's what most of the people that follow it want to see. They kind of want to see how I do it and how you can do it for yourself. I think I'm going to make another video of how I started my own company and kind of talk about it more. If you guys are interested, you should check that out. If you guys are just fishermen, again, check out jollybaitcompany.com. Check out our baits if you kind of just want to, even if you're making them yourself and you just want to support us and try them out, check it out. If I missed anything and you guys still have some questions, definitely drop them in the comments and I'll get to them. Just let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see next. We're definitely going to have some more bait making videos showing you guys step for step different colors like we've been doing a lot of, so you guys check that out. We appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you on the next one.